and we'll add it to this.
Where is it on here?
It's, that's really, it's right here. It's on your bids. Keep going. It's right towards the beginning. Okay, it's on here. It's number, right here.
Four. Okay.
Okay, there's two bids. One's a bus bid. We don't want to remove that, and the other one is the one.
Number 4.
Not just number 4 altogether, there's one under number 4 that needs to be pulled, because there's 2 big recommendations. One's for bus and one's for backup at the theater.
What do you call it?
And that was expensive, it is.
All right, thank you. Welcome to the board meeting. We'll begin by a pledge of allegiance. If you please stand and join me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Jason Lawrence will give us our prayer.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're glad to be here tonight to be able to discuss the matters of our school district. And please bless us as we go throughout this meeting tonight, that we'll be able to make the best decisions and that we'll be able to stay in the right mind to be able to do what's best for students in our school district. Please bless us as we go throughout this night, that we'll remember that our district builds our community, and that's what we're here for, to help build a community and help raise our children in this community. And we are so thankful for the board members and the time that they spend and that they donate to the children in our school district and to our faculties, and bless them and bless their families as they're away from them. And again, we love you and thank you for everything you do and help us with. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening, delegates and visitors. If a person would like to speak in public input, we'd like to remind you to please sign the form in the back. And if more than one person is going to speak, if you would all on the same topic, if you'd consolidate so that we have one person speaking. And the time limit will be 3 minutes. If you have written material, if you'll please give those to the board clerk. Okay. We need a motion.
You probably should do a roll call.
Oh, I probably should.
Or-
Yes. Thank you, Mary. Keep me in line. We will do a roll call. Thank you. Amy Landers.
Here.
Chad Dance.
Here.
Greg Calder.
Here.
Scott Lynch.
Here.
Paul Jenkins is sort of here. Sorry. All right. Now we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
It's been moved by Mr. Dance. Do I hear a second? It's been seconded by Mr. Lynch. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving to the consent calendar. Does any board member have an item that they'd like to have removed from the consent calendar?
Chairman, I propose that we remove the Bonneville High School small theater bid from the consent calendar and put it on our meeting next week on the 20th and make that a special meeting.
Okay, it has been moved that we remove the small theater bid from the consent calendar and be placed on the work session, turning that into a special session. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Calder. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, in that case, we now need to have a motion to approve the amended consent calendar.
Also move.
It's been moved by Mr. Calder. Is there a second?
1 second.
It's been seconded by Mrs. Landers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Mr. Wilson Hill.
Thank you, Chairman Jenkins, members of the board. It's in my office, but in my office, there's an award that we received from MCCI. MCCI is the vendor that we use for laserfish. It's, if you remember, last spring, we recognized Gabe Colbert, who received a national award from Laserfish, the software that we use for our document storage, as well as forms to do a lot of our business processes. MCCI also recognized him for his outstanding work. I tried to get Dave to come here, but he shuns public attention, and so he declined the invitation, but we just want to recognize him for the outstanding work he's done. He's really literally saved us hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of man hours with an automated processes. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. So here's the award that was presented to the district, but it's really on behalf of Dave and the work that he's done.
That is cool. Thank you. I know he does a great service for our district. Mr. Hilliard. Thank you.
Caught me off guard. I thought Mr. Oswald was going to do this. Last spring, you approved as a school board to support 2 kids that went to nationals for Skills USA. We would like to thank you for that. And Colton Belknap, who was in the carpentry contest, took 4th out of 46 contestants. And we spent a week there. The carpentry one was quite different than the rest. The board member who was in charge of that had those kids busy from Tuesday through Friday doing all kinds of different stuff with them. Got to know them really well. And like I said, out of 46 kids, Colton came back first place. So
That's amazing.
he had to build a shed and do it all by hand, hand nail and hand circular saw, cut everything, and he did a great job. And we'd like to thank you for that opportunity to be able to have him go and compete there.
That's incredible.
Is he here this evening?
He is, yes. Colton.
I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to go down and participate, and it was an awesome learning experience. I learned a lot, and just the experiences down there that we had. Like you said, we were busy the whole time. At one point we were touring a power plant that he had built, and he was showing us all the construction features that he had built, and so just it was a whole nother side of the construction field, because I've done a lot of stuff we were taught is like residential, and he was showing us like a power plant is not really residential, and so just a whole other side. And so I ended up walking away with about $1,200 worth of tools, and you know, it was awesome. It was really cool to go down and experience it. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. We have a certificate.
Shake your hand.
Absolutely.
You get a bid on the next school,
Congratulations.
but don't do it all by hand.
Thank you.
Good job. Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you.
Is that going to change the direction that you take your career at all?
Well, I was kind of planning on going to school as for now for construction management. So yeah, it's really giving me a jump start on it. So.
We know a good guy from Headwaters. Might need your help.
That's impressive. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to high school construction. Mr. McKenzie, please.
First, I'd like to talk about the site work that we have at the new school. Some of you were out there yesterday, and I'd still like to go through what the current status is. If you haven't been out there for a while, all this paving which has been completed for quite some time. Right now, we are in the process of prepping this area to the north of high school, and this area right here. It will be our next portion of the project that gets paved. We're going to start prepping that with the curb and gutter, and I think it's October 15th is the planned date for the next paving. We'll also complete this portion of the road. So all that really leaves for next next spring of paving would be this area right here in the bus loop, all of this, the area around the entranceway, and right here where the bus loop is. We hope to get more than that done, but we also are working so close to the building with materials that we need to kind of leave them where they are. The materials are all right here. Most of them have been installed, and we're going to clean up the rest of that. So that's the next paving part. As far as the landscaping goes, the practice football field and the soccer fields, we are preparing those for seeding. Hopefully, before the end of the month, we'll have those areas seeded. They're going to receive a double seed, which you just kind of cross-pass so that we can get those ready to go by next fall, when school opens. They will be able to get on those fields and use those. The varsity baseball and softball fields, we are continuing to work on those. We'll probably not get those seeded this fall, but we will next spring. So the following spring after that, they will be ready for play. The tennis courts right here, we have put the posts around, and those have been that is complete. We will then put the netting or the web of the fence in those areas, so those are nearing complete. The last thing we'll do after the seeding is we will sod the football field. Where it's sod, it has a little bit more, doesn't have to germinate as much, so we'll put that off to the very end prior to the fall or prior to winter coming, but that will all be sodded in through here. The paving has been complete all around the track in these areas. We will also do the rest of the grass. These areas are paved right here. There's a little bit of grass that goes in. We'll complete that at the same time as we do the football field. We have lights on the stadium, 2 on this side, 2 on this side. The posts have been installed, and the lights themselves are being wired up. By the end of the week, we hope to have all 4 of those in place. The scoreboard sign, we have our posts installed right here. This is something the district is working with the sign company to do, so that when you go out there, you'll see 3 posts together down on this end, and that will be for the scoreboard for the football field. As far as landscaping goes, I kind of talked about what we're doing with all with the seeding and such. The irrigation continues to work. We will irrigate these trees that are up here. There are 18 trees that we will relocate from this area around the building. We won't be able to get to that till next spring because of all the work, the construction we have going around the building. It's just not ready yet for it to take that kind of landscaping. That's kind of the status of where we are on the site, and then moving on to the building itself.
Somebody preempt.
So here we are with the building, and starting with the gym, about 80% of the major duct runs that run between the trusses have been installed. If you've been in there lately, in this area here, over the weight, cardio, and wrestling rooms, they're starting to install metal roof decking for that. This walkway down here, same situation. We're installing the metal decking for that, getting ready for the concrete pour. This floor right here will not be poured for a while because of all the lifts that we have in there and the work we're doing in the ceilings. We've got a lot of electrical to run also in the ceiling for future scoreboards and such. We'll leave a path right here that on the outside, the exterior, all the CMU is complete. These stairs are in, these stairs are in. They'll enclose the steel areas as we get to that. The constructors who are working on those areas are busy on the other part of the building. That's a little higher priority. But we'll have one path right here where this area is so that we can access this to pour it before, hope to do that before winter hits. The PE locker rooms, all the interior CMU walls are nearly complete. There's just a couple right in this area that have not been topped out. Over here, the floor is poured, and the masons will get back to this. Right now, they're working on the enclosure over here, the cooling tower, and the enclosure over here for the transformer and electrical area. And then we have a little trash enclosure right here on the end. When they get all that done, they'll hop back over and complete the interior for that. As far as the roofing goes, we've actually started, we've got about half of the insulation on this roof. And then now that we've got the rest of the metal decking in and the parapet installed around here, we'll continue to work on that roof, and then with the insulation, we put the membrane on. This vestibule for the gym, the footings have been placed. We will start setting steel here. A good majority, I think we were talking about this yesterday, the majority of this section right here is all glass. There is some metal siding around the sides of it. We'll set the steel, then we'll go back and pour the concrete. The rest of this steel has been set in place. We do have metal decking over that. We've enclosed this section here, tying the two portions of the building together. They are furring out this section of the gym that will receive siding as well. As far as the rest of the perimeter goes, from entrance to the auditorium all the way around to the other entrance here from the south to the north, we have all the siding and the windows are on. And the stairwell right here, we've started putting the blue siding on. Very nice looking blue. I think you could be happy with that, the color of that. It sets it off quite well with compared to the siding and the flashing and such around the windows.
You say that as if we've accused in the past of something, but
There's several blues, and you guys have picked just the right blue. This blue is, you're gonna like it. The windows have been installed also here in the entrance to the auditorium. We've got windows installed along this section as well. We're moving forward. The siding has been installed in here. The exterior insulation has been installed all along the admin area. Then we'll go to that area next for the windows. On the north side, windows have been installed all the way along the cafeteria down here, and on the second floor, they're going to move to that next. They're setting up there to put those windows in, along with the siding as well. Then they'll move along the siding. They're staging and putting scaffolding above that section of the roof over the cafeteria. Inside the building, in the administration area, we have the sheetrock up in the high areas because we're putting the ductwork in. So we want to get that rock up first. So we're working on all the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing in the admin. In the cafeteria, in this portion of the cafeteria, the sheetrock has all been taped. They are still installing a few sections of drywall along this wall. Across the hallway, in this area, we've got the majority of all the sheetrock up. They will start taping that next. The three-stop elevator here is in place. We're working on installing that. The two-stop elevator over here just showed up. So they'll work on that when the other elevator is complete. This whole area around the auditorium on the first floor, we have cabinets, we have paint, we have ceiling grid. They've started dropping ceiling tile around the perimeter. That was looking very nice. The second floor, same thing. We're putting up ceiling grid. The cabinetry has been delivered. On the third floor, same thing. We're moving right along with all the ceiling grid as well. In the hallways here, we have all of our heat pumps. The heat pumps have been installed. We're working on the control conduit for that. So progress is being made extremely well on that end of the building, as has been our plan. Inside the auditorium, the clouds that are above the balcony are in place. They're working on the framing for the clouds that are in front of the stage here in this main area. And the clouds are the big, they're painted sheetrock that goes up high against the ceiling. It's kind of for acoustics and such. So that's what they're working on in there. You'll see that some of the painting has been done on the sheetrock at the very top because we wanted to get that portion done before we kind of block ourselves out with the clouds. All the foam block is in place in here. The concrete subcontractor who's going to place the pans and pour the pans, we'll get to that just as soon as he's through doing some of the sidewalk behind the visitor side of the bleachers. We need him to do that first so that we can get all the sod, or excuse me, all the grass work done. As soon as that's done, he'll get back inside and he'll pour all that. So hopefully that'll be within about by the end of next week, we'll have that portion poured. Inside here, the rigging steel is in place, the ladders, access ladders to get to the reading area, the access ladders to get down to the two on the sides of the auditorium where the spotlights will be. All that has been installed. In these areas here, second floor, they're working on sheetrock. They'll move from there up to the third floor to work on sheetrock up there in the science rooms. They've done all the framing in here for at the very top where the skylights are. So most of the things, framing is in place. They do have the blockouts in the concrete right here for that main, very nice entryway stairway. If you walk out there, you'll see the concrete's in there, but there are big blockouts that have been left just for the steel that's set for that, which is the last set of, I'd say the last set of stairs. There's one more set of stairs right here in front of the gym that we'll have to install. So things are moving right along there very well, I think. We wish we had more people. We're still running around 200 to 210 people on the job. We could use another taping crew, we could use another concrete crew, we could use more electricians, every single craft. We haven't lost people, we just wish we could find more. We're not being able to find any more, but we've got enough to keep everybody busy. So we wish we had that. Out in the site area, I would estimate we're around 70% complete with all the work out there, because there's still a lot of work around the building that needs to be done as far as cost goes, and next spring and summer to complete. Inside the building, I'd say we're right around 65% complete for the entire building, for every bit that we have in there. The other thing that we've installed all around the first floor, actually, and the second floor, in that east side of the building, all the whiteboards, and the projector mounts. We're working on that, so we're really getting to some of the finishes, which is in there. So it's very interesting to see the progression through the building. So. Any questions?
You guys ahead, on schedule, behind?
We're on
Right
schedule.
time?
Their schedule that they have, I have them showing completing when we really think we can complete, which is the end of July of next summer. They're trying to make up days that they lost because of the winter. Even though the steel workers kept working, it did slow them down, and concrete work and masonry work. But they're trying to recover with that by the way they're progressing the work. And I think that it's an amazing effort by all the tradesmen out there. They really seem to be dedicated. If you go out there, they're all working as diligently as they can. And any questions they have, they've been bringing them up to keep them going and looking ahead. So we really appreciated the team effort of everyone working out there.
Are we gonna hit our target date, end of July, you think? We can make
Yes,
it?
we will.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I know you put that in writing. Brad said, yes, we will make that date. We're doing everything in our power to make that date.
Thank you, sir. Policies for initial consideration. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman Jenkins. So the board has two policies, proposed policies for initial consideration: 3060 education of homeless students and 1510 board agenda items, both of which have been updated to reflect current practice.
Any questions for Mr. Wilson? And then present changes to procedures, forms, and review. Reviews.
So under procedures and forms changes, there are 6 procedures or forms that we have updated to reflect current practice. And one in particular is a new form number 4, 4420F4, which is a request for parents or guardians to visit school property if they are on the sex offender registry. So we had a form before, it was just a general form that applied to anybody who's a sex offender. This one's specific to parents. The part's a little different way that we handle those.
Any questions from Mr. Wilson? All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Oswald. Careers High School Student Council, please.
Yes, I'll just introduce our student body president, Jaden Wilker, and vice president Sydney Nelson to do our presentation.
So first things first, we want to thank you guys all for allowing us to come out here and talk to you guys. Dr. Shackett, chairman of the board. We really appreciate the opportunity to be able to come out here and talk to you. So, as Mr. Oswald said, my name is Jaden Welker. I'm the president over at Technical Workers High School.
And I'm Sydney Nelson, and I'm the vice president.
Here are just a few goals we have for the year. A lot of the goals we have are oriented around getting our seniors to be able to graduate with a stable amount of skills, and then another one we have, which is really big, is be able to get more enrollment in our schools, because our school isn't necessarily big compared to other schools. So one thing we really struggle with is getting kids to graduate and find, or go to college and find jobs after they get out. But most of the things we do around here come back, our comments we get from the workforce that come back to us, such as they're not getting enough skilled workers. So we're trying to encourage our students to go to college and in their particular division or their particular skill that they enjoy very much, to go to college and be able to go out there, and so we have more skilled workers. So,
some of the accomplishments that we have already had this year is we moved into the classrooms, which are the trailers that were being built, and with the trailers, our students and student council have helped in getting those together, and we would just like to say thank you, and that we really appreciate the opportunity to have these, and we are just so excited to be able to start using them.
this is one of our students. His name is Colton Milnap. You guys have met him earlier. We're very proud of him. He's one of the few students we had who went to nationals this year. And last school year alone, we made over $100,000 in scholarships. So this is what we're trying to encourage: is a lot of students be able to go to competitions or be able to go and do what they want and earn scholarships for college, so they can go out in the workforce and get more skilled jobs. So
something that we did this summer was the Katie Tucker Fun Run, and it was just a great and uplifting experience to be able to go and show our support for the community and show that we support safe driving.
Because of the Katie Tucker Fun Run last year, we actually got an AED. This helps immensely with the shop classes. If you guys have ever been over there, there can be extreme risk. We try to make it as safe as possible, but for those times that we're in we're tense and all that, we need tools like this. And it not only helps the shop classes, but our EMT class now knows how to use this tool because it was given to us. So.
Something that we finished was the Wilson, and our Wilson is just an area, kind of like our lunchroom, since we don't have one. And it's also a place where students can go to do their schoolwork and their online work. And in the picture, it shows some tables, and that is something that our construction and welding students have done. And so a lot of our students have put a great amount of time and effort into these, so we can be able to have it this year.
And then these are some of our future activities for the year. One I really want to stress is the community service projects, because now our students have to make community service to be able to graduate, and I understand a lot of students are going to struggle with that, whether it's because of work or because they don't know how to do it. So what we're trying to do is encourage students to go out there and help the community, whether it sparks a fire, and if they figure out something they want to do regularly or not. We're trying to make projects for them, and we're already setting up dates for these goals we can think upon. So once again, I'd like to thank all you guys for letting us have a chance to come out here and talk to you. What we're really trying to focus on and get achieved is more students be able to go out and find a college they'd like and find some work environment they would really like, so we can have more skilled workers going out in the workforce. So thank you for that.
Also, if you have any questions, we would be more than happy to try to answer them to the best of our ability.
I have one comment.
Okay.
You guys are the only students that I can recall that have ever thanked us for the trailers.
We are just super ecstatic to have them because they're super nice.
And using the word ecstatic to be in the training.
Yeah,
That's a new thing, so.
Okay, thank you guys for your time.
I've got a quick question
Oh,
too.
sorry.
If you would each just comment on what triggered your interest in attending TCHS, how that kind of came about.
I'll try to kind of make my story short. When I was a freshman, I went to Bonneville and I really struggled with my grades. Even before then, in middle school, I was attending special need classes so I can get my grade up and help get work through. And then going over to Bonneville, it was a harder transition than I thought it would be, but I struggled through the year. And I took the intro to tech class over at Technical High School and learned that they fix cars and welding and all that. My original thought was I want to go over there and be a welder, so I transferred over there full time. I was one of my only friends that was over there, and found out that it was one of the best places I've ever been. Ever since then, I'm a B&A student. They've helped me tremendously getting through grades. They've helped me spark a fire and help me learn what I'm interested in. And I really love the school. I don't want to miss it. I love interacting with it. So.
Thank you.
I have a huge interest in the medical field, and so when I heard that they had an EMT program, I was like more than happy and excited to go and really see if that's something I wanted to pursue. And so it just seemed like a great opportunity, especially where we can get scholarships and go to skills and like really show off what we have learned. And also my mom works there, so it just helps a little.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
One question, what opportunities are available to participate in athletics, extracurricular activities, music classes at Bonneville if you're a TCHS student?
Just because you go to TCHS doesn't mean you can't join the Bonneville team. The only really after-school program we really have that I can remember is the skills program, but a lot of students are involved in that. That's where they go to competitions and earn scholarships, and we really encourage that. If a student wants to go to a school and attend their athletic abilities, we're not going to shun them, we're not going to turn them down. We'll actually encourage them to go do that because we don't have our own football team. So we try to encourage students in doing what they want, whether it's going to another school or whether it's staying here and learning something that we offer. We just try to encourage students to do what they want. So.
Thank you.
What kind of public service activities are you doing?
Well, right now we're thinking of doing one right before winter. We're not exactly sure what it would be, whether it's going out and asking people if they want us to shovel their driveways, or before winter if they want us to mow their lawns. That'd have to be pretty soon, or whatever it may be. So.
Also, I was talking to my teacher, Miss Olson, and we were listening to the school and the progress, and our students are participating in like some of the skills that are needed to help with the new school. And so we were thinking if there was any way like we could contribute and help with the building process, and we'd love to. And so we just think it'd be a great experience.
Any more questions?
I did have one more. I think you guys called it the Wolf Den. Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
Where did you put that over there?
It's right next to Brad Huntsman's shop, like right across from it, and it's Amy Talbot's old classroom.
We painted it and got tables in there and took out all the old classroom materials and helped us have them move them into her trailer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot nicer than it was before, and like I said, we're thankful for those trailers so we could have them there.
Is that a classroom just right south of yours? Is that where it was?
It's south of Brad's office.
You know where
Brad's
Rocky
classroom
Mountain?
used to be.
You know where Rocky Mountain is posted? It's like the first room down the hall from Rocky Mountain is posted. So it's really nice. You can't miss it if you just walk by. We have a bunch of paintings or painted walls, but that's where a lot of our kids go to eat for lunch and main activities. I know our skills members are having meetings in there, so it's just a nice place to hang out. Any more questions? Okay, once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Impressive. Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Good evening. I'd like to introduce our student council representatives here tonight to share some things going on at Bonneville. We've been in school for 3 weeks, and I think these guys have been working for 7 or 8. They've done a lot of work around the grounds and preparing for students and helping with registration and They've done a lot of great things and planned activities to get us off to a great start. So Harper Clayton is our student body president, and Hunter Guthrie is the vice president. So I'll turn the time over to them.
Hello, I'm Harper Clayton. As he said, I'm the student body president over there at Bonneville High School.
And I'm Hunter Guthrie, and I'm the student body vice president at Bonneville.
So like you said, we've been over there for quite a while. Me, Hunter, and Cole have been having meetings there. Cole Cooper is the other executive. He's the student body secretary. And we've just been having meetings over there, planning everything for this year. This year we've already accomplished doing a Bee Pride Day, which is where we cleaned up the school grounds, repainted a few things, and were able just to kind of get the grounds looking a little nicer for the school year. We also did the Civil War cleanup, so we went out to the field after the game and we cleaned up the Thunder Stadium and the visitor side and also things on the field. Definitely, we made a small dent because that thing was a disaster, but it was definitely fun to do. We've also had the opportunity to go over to Telford and clean up over there and move desks and shelves and build shelves and everything like that. But also for this year, we've sat our student council down both at the start of summer and at the start of this year, and we've set some goals. And as executives, me, Hunter, and Cole, we kind of look over our council and we have to make sure that all of them are doing okay. So the first thing that we wanted to focus on was kindness in our council. I don't know if you guys know this, but for the past few years we've had girls as student body presidents, and I'm not as good looking or as kind as they are. And so we really wanted to focus on being a friendly face and a friendly hand to those in our council, and making sure that we're aware of everybody's needs. The other thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to build a family bond within our council. You spend a lot of time together, and we just want to make sure that everybody's welcome. And if you're welcome in that council, you feel more obliged to help the students at Bonneville High School. And the last thing that we really wanted to focus on is making sure that everybody has a say and everybody has their voice. We already had a little issue this year where one of our freshman kids felt like his opinion wasn't important. Apparently something happened on social media and somebody made the remark that he shouldn't be in student council. And going about that and making sure that he feels the love of all of us has been extremely important to us, because I mean, they were elected in there and they deserve to be in there. So it's been extremely hard to take care of, but those are just a few of the goals. We've set several, but us as executives have set those. I'll turn the time over to Hunter. He'll go over some of our student body goals.
As a student body, we've set many goals. One of the goals being to unite the school. This year we're using committees and activities to more unite the school. One activity that we are doing is the homecoming. We're not only going to unite the school through the homecoming game, but we're also going to unite the school through our pep assembly. We have planned games and activities through lunchtime that really help bring all the school together. And another goal that we have is to always be doing more. Our council, we set this goal because last year we had a couple stray people that really didn't do a lot, and so we wanted to be more active. And so to do this, we're always making sure that everyone's in a committee and everyone's working and everyone has a say in an activity. And right now we have more than 5 activities going for the next 2 months. And one of our last goals that we set as a student body is kindness and welcoming other people. We took this goal on because we have a lot of foreign students as well as a lot of new incoming students from transfers, and so we're trying to make a special reach out to them, and we're trying to include them in activities that they might not be in if we haven't reached out. I'll give the mic back to Harper.
Yeah, so as a council, we've kind of set a goal also to make sure that for every fun activity we do, you know, the dress-up days and the pep assemblies, that we also do a service project. And we make sure that we at least do 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2 ratio. So for every fun activity, we do a service project. And what we found is it brings our council together. For example, when we cleaned up Telford, Shelly Andrus just asked for our council to come over during lunch and student council class and clean up. When we went over there, somebody pulled out their speaker from their car and we scraped up carpet, moved desks, moved tables, moved chairs, stuff that would have taken those 4 ladies that worked there hours of work. And we were able to accomplish it in about an hour and a half, and it was awesome to do. The other thing that we've really focused on is validation in our school. We've had a lot of trouble and turmoil in our school this past year and in our council alone with everything that's gone on. And we just wanted to make sure that everybody knows of their love and how much we care for them. Along with that, I'm meeting with the student body presidents. I've started a committee of my own to meet with each student body president. That includes Rigby High School, Hillcrest, Skyline, IF, Highland, and Shelley. We haven't been able to get a hold of the Madison president quite yet, but we're meeting to talk about what's everybody's district policy when it comes to prevention, both as texting and driving, suicide prevention, things like that, bullying. And we are getting together. We've already had our first meeting where we discussed things such as the Hope Squad that our district is implementing, and we discussed a week of a prevention week, something that each school can go across and make sure that we have a foundation on, because I mean, this last year has hit us hard. The last thing that's kind of come up in our council is we were able to sit down as a class. We have our student council class, and for the first time in about 2 years, we've had every single kid in that class. We have all 32 kids in our class in that class, and our advisor was able to sit us down and have a deep conversation about it with us, about what is your why of being in student council. And he pushed us harder and he pushed us farther and made us think. And so our saying for this year has become, know the why, be the why. And the reason is because each of us have a why on why we're in student council. And each of us need to become that why and make sure that we strive for that why, because that's what our students want and that's what we are there for our students. So those are a few things that we have planned for this year. We're excited to see where this year takes us. We're hoping for great and amazing things. Thank you again for letting us come here and speak. It means a ton. Is there anything that we can do for you, or any questions that you guys have, concerns, or anything that you need the Bonneville Student Council to do?
Just very impressed. Thank you for everything you guys are doing. I'm impressed with the service that you guys are providing for different people in our community.
Of course.
I think that's awesome, and your validation of your students, I think, is critical, especially given what's gone on over there in the recent past, and I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
Other comments? I think you need to be applauded for making sure that particularly your council members have been included. You're doing the right things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Means a lot.
Mr. Wilson-Hill, the continuous improvement plan, please.
I really miss working when she's not here. I'm sure you do too. So it's that time of year, favorite time of year, when we get to submit multiple plans to the State Board of Education for their education and instruction and enlightenment. So the State Board passed new rules this year, as they're wont to do, governing our improvement plans and the specific criteria that they need to see or expect to see in our plans. So what changed is basically they gave us a number of other metrics to identify our progress. So most of those hit elementary school, really focused on the early literacy. And so now, I don't know if you remember, but in our previous plan, we were using just a third grade outcome and the number of students that were reading at grade level on the IRI as our indicator for early literacy. State Board rule now requires that we have that at every grade level. So they have a first grade readiness, so you have to kind of bend your head around this. First grade readiness benchmark is kindergarten students' performance. Second grade readiness is first grade students' performance. Third grade readiness is second grade, and fourth grade readiness is third grade. So take it -1, if that's helpful. So, so here is the results from kindergarten. Nice thing with the IRI is we can go back almost 15 years with it and have data. I went back 10 years to 2010. And so kindergarten, I hope you're as excited to see it as I am, and what you see is we have made steady improvement every year in kindergarten. So this is one of those data points I'm actually glad we have here, because this is getting lost really when we're just looking at third grade. So every year we've made, well, not every year, over the course of the last 7 years, we've made significant improvement in our spring scores on the IRI. And interestingly, so what you see in the light blue is the students' scores in the fall, and then dark blue, their scores in the spring. And so what you see is actually somewhat of a downward trend in the fall scores, which means students are actually coming to us less and less ready for kindergarten, and at the same time we're exiting them out of kindergarten with higher and higher numbers of students reading proficient on that. So our goal, our 5-year goal that we set 2 years ago, was for 90% of our students to be reading at benchmark, and kindergarten actually exceeded that this year with 92.4%. And Jason will talk here in a minute about the literacy plan and the impact that that had. And well, this is the impact it had. He'll just talk about what we did on that and what our continued plans are there. And then we'll move down to the other early literacy ones. So the next set we look at is second grade readiness, which is our first grade student scores. And so again, in light you see fall scores, dark you see spring scores. And so again, what you see is we are having a significant impact on students reading from fall to spring. If you only look at the spring scores though, you'll notice that we were right about 75% for a number of years, dropped off of that a few years ago, but for the last couple of years we've been improving. To reach the 90% though, that's the yellow section. So as we continue to focus on that literacy intervention plan, we're hoping to reach that trend line so that 90% of our first grade students will be reading at grade level by 2020. The other, yeah, thank you, Greg, please.
Question.
You bet.
Any understanding or guesses or whatever the right way to say that is for 2015? I mean, do we have a guess as to what happened or why it dropped?
I don't. No.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I could go back and even hazard a guess right now on why there was such a significant drop off. The one thing I would say is, and I think we've talked about this in maybe the board retreat, but I'm not a fan of how the board asks us to look, the state board asks us to look at these, because we're looking at different groups of students every year, and somehow it's supposed to change outcomes with a completely different group of students, rather than saying, look at a group of students and see your impact on those over time. So anytime you compare one grade level to another, it's just a different group of kids. And even with a sample size of 900 to 1,000 kids, we see significant variance in their overall performance. So. Second grade, you'll see, and that this kind of speaks to that point, that really we've pretty much sat right at the 75% for the last 7 years, but that's also improving kids from about just under 60% where they're in the fall. So I don't think that we're not having an impact. We're having a significant impact by 15% improvement, but to reach 90%, and again, hopefully, as we continue to work the literacy plan and those interventions, we'll start to see a change in that trend line. And that brings us to the last one. So third grade students' performance on the IRI. And this again is what we were focused on before. And these ones, again, we had a bit of a drop off last year, but this year we see improvement that's matching to that trend line, and we hope to continue to see that. So the only challenging thing now, and we talked about this, but starting next year we have a brand new assessment, so really all that 7 years of data is going to be whitewashed, and we'll be looking at a new baseline. And if it's anything like happened with the ISAT, what we could see is a significant drop in the number of students we're identifying as being literate, because we're testing more skills besides just reading fluency. So with that, I'm going to let Jason go ahead and talk for a few minutes about the early literacy plan, what we did, and what our plans are moving forward.
I think you said I have 30 minutes, 45 seconds. That's perfect. So how the literacy plan works is the state gives us some funding based on the number of students that we have that score either basic or below basic on the IRI, which is the test that the kindergarten through third grade takes. And what they do is the students that score a 2 or a 1, they have to have 30 hours of instruction if you scored a 2. If you scored a 1, then you have to have 60 hours of extra instruction. And they've done that in the past. It used to be the extended, the ERI, I think is what they called it before, and a lot of it was done after school. And I think as a district, what we've tried to do is go, okay, the more research that we do, and we understand that, of course, the best intervention is done during the school day, because if it's outside of that, it really becomes optional. Parents don't, if parents have to get them there or to pick them up, or even if they feel like it's going to be longer. So in the past, we would bus kids home at the end of the school day, so they'd stay an hour after the school day, which for some students, if they're not good at reading, well, make them stay longer and do something they don't like is not always the best thing. But so last year, what we did is, as a district, our administrators got together with their teams and they talked through, okay, what are we going to do? What's going to really help our students? So last year, we purchased a program called Lexia, which is a reading intervention program. One of the things with it that I think our teachers really like is it's not just a software program where the students are on the computer the whole time. They do have work on the computer, but once a student gets to a certain point or starts struggling with something, then it has specific lessons for the teacher to do with those students that are going to target that skill that they need to be working on. And our teachers really enjoyed that because, and I think we believe it as well. I mean, the best thing for those students is their teacher. And so the teachers were able to use those extra time specifically on the skills that the students needed to work on. So what we did with kindergarten, the extended kindergartens that we had throughout the district, last year we had 9 extended kindergartens throughout the district, which then they're staying all day. They work that in the school day just like they would first, second, third grade. Now the other part, kindergarten, we have such a small window anyway. They had to try to figure out, okay, where do we give them that instruction? So last year, some schools would use their kindergarten teacher and pay them a $20 an hour type stipend to have them work with those students in between. So if a student was in AM kindergarten, they'd stay a little bit longer. They'd drop off the PM kindergartners, the students that struggled, and the PM stayed with that same group, and then the AM was taken home a little bit later, probably about 30 minutes later. So that's how they worked with them. We're trying to get some of the schools I think will still do that this year with kindergarten, because if you know a kindergarten or first grade teacher, they are very passionate about their students and getting them to read, and so they want to be with them and they want to work with them. So, but some of them they may hire an aide to come in and work with those students during the computer time of it, and then the teacher can work with them on the specific skill. And then again, the first, second, third grade, they're going to do that during their RTI time, their response to intervention time throughout the day. So then they're working with those students. And that's what they did last year. And so we looked at this last couple weeks, we talked with administrators. They went back, talked with their leadership team about the literacy plan. Each individual school submitted a literacy plan to me, and then what we do is we build our district literacy plan off of everything that the school sent in. And I really feel like the administrators and their leadership teams felt like what they did last year was a benefit. And I think if you look at the data, it shows that there was some very good growth, like there always is, but it looks like we're going, and I'm with Scott, I struggle with looking at a third grade class and then the next year's third grade class, because I know being the principal at Rocky Mountain, there were some groups that came through that were much easier than other groups, and so that's very difficult, but it looks like it's been a good plan. So most of the plans that were submitted were very similar. We purchased that program last year with some Chromebooks, Chromebook labs that made it so that the schools could use that throughout the day. One of the things the administrators asked for this year as a part of our plan is more Chromebook labs. One of the things that they felt is that to get all the kids through there, they were having to use their other Chromebook labs in their schools that weren't just specifically for those literacy intervention times. So they felt like if they had another lab, that would free up those other labs that they had before for teachers to use those, for different things. And so they've asked for Chromebooks. They also felt like they wanted touch screens. They felt like that would be very helpful, especially for the kindergarten, first grade. And luckily, I think what's helped us is technology is cheaper. It seems to be cheaper every year, and so we're able to buy Chromebooks fairly inexpensive. And as a part of this plan, what we do is we submit a budget. You'll see a budget that is sitting there, and the state gives us the money, and we're able to purchase the things that we need. And of course, being able to show that it's working. So, any questions?
So the next two sets of metrics that we're required to report are readiness for middle school, and strictly speaking, it's 7th grade readiness according to the state board definition. And the metric identified by the state board on that is students' performance in both math and ELA on the ISAT. So we have, again, just a limited amount of data. Started that test back in 2015, and so you can see our 6th grade students' performance on the ISAT. So numbers change a little bit here. So now the light blue represents the state average, and light orange represents state average. Dark blue, dark orange represents our district 6th grade performance. So 6th grade, we significantly outperformed the state average, which is great. But as we look at a trend line of 65%, a goal of 65% of our students being proficient or ready for 7th grade by reaching that proficiency on both math and ELA. ELA, we're already exceeding that, but math, there's still work to do. So, we struggle a little bit with where to set those benchmarks. Basically, we're setting them at about a rate of 5% improvement per year. We haven't seen that over the last couple of years, but as more and more students come through elementary school in the math program that's really aligned to the Common Core and the instruction, the way that students are assessed in this, then the expectation is that we'll see improvement there. And we're also starting to shift our instruction in middle school to match that as well. So I hate to keep using the word hopefully, because I know hope's not a strategy. We have strategies in place. If they don't work, then of course we'll revise and adapt and change strategies. So that's the 7th grade readiness metric, and then there are some strategies. Those are the same strategies we've had in place for the last several years. Really focused on developing common formative assessments, using our instructional coaches and those things to help improve instruction and learning in those areas. This is high school readiness, and so this is now 8th grade performance again on ISAT in both math and ELA. And what you see is, and again, we reviewed this during the board retreat, but a significant drop off from where we were in 6th grade to 8th grade in the percent of students that are proficient. So, as we discussed in the board retreat, typically what's happening is student scale scores are staying relatively flat after 6th grade on this particular assessment, while the benchmark for proficiency continues to increase. And that's not just our district, that happens across the state, but the other trend that we continue to discuss and talk about how to address, the other key differences here are our district average is dropping below the state average in both math and ELA in 8th grade. So just an area where we know we need to focus, and we'll continue to address that. And with Jason as the director of curriculum and instruction, being a former middle school principal, I'm sure he's got silver bullets that help us fix that issue. So no pressure at all there for Jason.
I thought once you got rid of that middle school principal to make it so
Yeah,
much better there.
that was also part of the strategy. So questions about the high school readiness metric at all? Excellent. Okay, that brings us to the last one. The last one, again, the state board defines this as college and career readiness, but really they focus wholly on college readiness. So the state board's metric is only this one bullet point here, which is the percentage of students who are meeting the college readiness benchmark on the SAT and ACT. As a district, we've had extensive discussions, and this is the one area where I feel strongly enough about that we aren't simply following the state board plan, but we're using a more comprehensive look at what it means to be college ready. And so these are, again, the indicators we've talked about before that come from redefiningready.org, which is a national organization supported by the National School Boards Association, the National Principals Association, National Superintendents Associations, that provide more comprehensive view of that. So we're looking at students earning a minimum of a 2.8 GPA on the 4.0 scale, completing Algebra 2 with a C or higher, and also completing advanced placement courses, dual credit English or math courses, and meeting the college readiness benchmark. So you can see our performance there. This last year dipped a little bit from where it was the previous year. The one that I probably need to explain is the 55% to 29% in dual credit. So our overall dual credit participation went up. I don't think I was strict last year on looking at just math and English, and this year I was. And so I think last year we were just kind of counting anybody taking dual credit. This year really trying to follow those guidelines and looking at just math or English. So we'll continue to see increased participation in our dual credit programs. Corey's done just a great job of getting the right courses there, and we have more and more students taking those. So don't let that detract from the reality of what's happening there. So, and in this plan, our very first key strategy is to implement a college and career advising plan. That's also required by the state board. And invited Tyler Parkinson, who is one of our near peer mentors, and Alexis Tucker. Oh, they're all four here. Great. They're all here. So, McConnell, I know.
You want me to? I can introduce them.
And yeah, that'd be awesome.
Scott, just one
Yes.
quick question. Can you move that down so I can see the labels on each
Sure
column?
thing. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure.
So I don't know if I have labels. So this
Okay.
is
The first-
2015, 16. Oh, you know what? I'm off. No wonder. Okay. So this is actually 2016's numbers, the black.
Okay.
Blue was our goal, and red is our results. That
Okay.
helps you better. Okay. So dual credit, we actually went up. So we had 25% last year. We set a high goal of 55%, but we went 29. We increased it by 4%. So I'm glad you asked that. And I actually need to get those headers in there. Yeah. So these were results, goals, and then this year's results and next year's goals. Or no, 2020 goals. Sorry.
I think the header's on that. Is it up a bit? The software, whatever.
Oh, okay. I see.
There we go.
I see.
That's
Okay.
helpful.
Okay, you guys want to stand up? I'll introduce you. Unless you want to introduce yourselves. So this is Lexi Tucker, Melissa McConnell, and Jessica Butler. My name's Tyler Parkinson. We're working in the district as college and career readiness advisors. This is something that the state of Idaho has started recently, where they're setting aside money to have a college and career advising people in the district, and each district gets money for it. So we have 2 that are primarily based at Hillcrest High School, and then 2 of us that are primarily based at Bonneville High School, and then we help up with the other schools as needed, especially the middle schools. There's things that in the budget, or to get this money, there's things that we need to do with 8th graders too. We do a lot of work with Lincoln High School. We've spent a lot of time over there. We're over there today. So in this plan that we put together, it's one that the state, in order to get the money that we need to put together, some of the numbers are just ones that they've provided, and we've done the best that we can with them. We've tried to align it as close as we can with the district strategic plan. So I'll highlight a couple of the things that we've set as goals this year. One of them is we're going to start doing 4-year plans with all of the 8th graders. This is something that we worked with Scott last year and we put together to do in Google Classroom. And so we've started it this year with 9th graders where they didn't get it last year. So we'll do it with them and learn from them. And then towards the end of the year, we're going to do it with the 8th graders too. So that's one of the things that we're doing. We've done a lot of stuff to help with ACT and SAT, especially getting them prepared to meet those benchmarks that the ACT and SAT say that if you meet those benchmarks, you're more likely to pass your freshman year math class and your freshman year English class. And so some of the things we've done is we have early release Wednesdays, and we've set it up as when the students get out early, we make ourselves available in the libraries and they can come do scholarships, but we especially promote it to the younger students like freshman, sophomore, junior, that they can come and do college preparation. We have materials, online practice tests and stuff like that. We're doing ACT prep courses this month in September, where if they sign up for one of the upcoming ACTs, that they can get a free college prep course. And there's some of the teachers at the school that are going to be teaching part of it. I'll be teaching one of the sections, so it's over, I believe, 8 days that they come in after school. We also work, we've been with the district strategic plan, we've started taking over helping the students identify their career clusters in the Idaho CIS website. And we've been doing that with the 10th graders. And so they come down as freshmen, we create accounts in the Idaho CIS website. We do a survey that they call the reality check, which helps them understand how much money they need to make in a career to be able to live
the lifestyle that they choose based on cars and houses and those kind of things. And then as sophomores, we bring them in and we have them do the career cluster inventory, which helps them go through and answer questions about, do you like to do this, do you not like to do that? And then at the end of it, it says, these are the career clusters that you'd be most interested in. And that helps them start picking careers. There's a list of careers that are in those career clusters. Some of the other things, these aren't actually in the goal that we have to submit to the state, but if I am in front of you guys, I want to brag a little bit about some of the things we've been doing. We feel that one of the best things that we can do to help students go on to college and actually finish college is make sure that they're picking schools that they can afford and trying to provide as much money as we can to help them afford those schools. And so we do a lot of work with scholarships. We have some texting campaigns that we do. We do a lot of research for what are good scholarships, and we promote them as much as we can. One of the things we really push is the FAFSA. In all of our meetings with the State Board of Education, when they've talked to us, they said one of the greatest indicators of if they're going to keep going is FAFSA. A lot of the people that actually receive that Pell Grant money are ones that would maybe be more likely to drop out, and their parents a lot of times aren't ones that have done the FAFSA before. So in our district, just from last year to this year, we improved 120. We had 120 more people submit the FAFSA than the year before. And we've gotten to the point where in both Bonneville and Hillcrest, we've almost gotten to the point where we've doubled how many FAFSAs are being submitted each year, with obviously we're helping the students figure out if they're getting Pell Grants and what they need. We do a lot with the Idaho Opportunity Scholarship. You may have heard of that one. It's one that the State Board of Education's put together, where it's worth up to $3,000 per year to use at an in-state university. It could be private or public. And we had 241 students apply for it, which what that is those are the students that are actually eligible to apply for it. You have to have a 3.0 GPA, so we've looked for those students, called all the seniors down, and had them apply for it. And we have 42 awarded just in the first initial offering. And we were told when we talked to the people that are in charge of it that we're actually the best district in the state of Idaho. Like, we're beating some of the really, really big districts. So we feel like that's a huge help to our students. The Mayor's Scholarship, which is just for Idaho Falls students, last year we had 15 of the 20 awards that were given of the Mayor's Scholarship. Some other schools are probably getting jealous that we're taking all of the money. So we're helping our students as much as we can. A lot of really good things going on at Hillcrest, a lot of good things happening at all the schools. Are there any questions about our program or about our goals that we've set that we can answer for you guys?
Is that you guys that were in Hillcrest today doing the FAFSA with the seniors?
Were you guys
Is that
doing
you
that
guys?
today? Yes.
I have one. So,
Awesome.
How do you make sure that they know about your afternoon, Wednesday afternoon?
So we do a few things. We announce it in the announcements, especially the first of the year. You guys have probably heard of Remind.com. We use Remind.com a lot. We just went around to all the freshmen. We have them take out their phones if they have them, or an iPod or an email. You can do it through email. And we have them sign up for it. And so what that does is we can send out a mass text or email to all of the students. And we found that that's the easiest way for them to respond back to us. They can't help but take their phone out and look at it. So we have a bunch of different ways that we tell them about it, and they get in the habit of knowing that every Wednesday when we have early release that they can come down and we'll be there for them.
Has that been effective?
Yeah, it's been really effective. We have students that come in, especially for scholarships, and it's starting to grow every year that we've been doing it.
Are you getting mostly seniors? What's the response been?
It depends on the time of the year. When SATs are starting to come up from the juniors will start to feel a little anxiety and start to come in. A lot of it's seniors because they really want to get those scholarships or retaking ACTs or SATs. And we get freshmen tend to like us, forget about us during sophomore year and then come back junior and senior. They like to come down and do a lot of those career assessments. We tell them they can do that anytime, and they just seem to be pretty interested in it.
The go-on rates, that number comes from the State Board of Education, is that right?
Which one are you looking at, the very last one?
Yes, the last slide, and it's the second to last number on that last slide. references the State Board of Education, so I'm assuming that's.
Yeah, that one is on the State Board of Education website. They do have a number. It's not the best number in the world because it's actually still from 2015. What they do is a class will graduate, they follow them for an entire year, and then they release the data once they can put it together. And so it's actually kind of old. The other thing with that 2015 number is we were told that they changed the way they counted it. So it's a little bit different than the year before. So here pretty soon, I believe it was in October of last year that they started to open it up. We'll start seeing 2016 and then 2017. One of the things we've been really tracking so that we can keep track of what students are going on is we keep track of how many students have applied to a college, which we had 90% of our seniors at our schools last year complete an application all the way. And we had 83% of them that were accepted. And that means that they came and we saw one way or another that they were accepted, either through an email or the admissions advisors told us. And we feel like that's a really good one that we can control until we see the state board numbers coming in.
Yeah. And then at a district level, do we try to do anything to track, like say 2 years later, the class of 2015, or are we just relying on the state board data at that point?
We're keeping track of the ones as they exit. We don't have a lot of contact with them or access to some of those.
I'm sure that's hard.
Some of those numbers once they get off to college.
Yeah.
So we're keeping track each year of how many are being accepted, how many have told us that they are going on each year.
Okay.
And then for after the 1 year college, I think that's kind of the only one we can, that I know of that we can get to.
Okay. Thank you.
What about those who serve LDS missions? I mean, that's a percentage of kids in our district, so those are probably not counted.
Yeah.
Even though they may attend
They
at
are
the
now.
conclusion.
They are now.
Are they?
Yeah, they've
So
just
if they
started
qualify, if they qualify for entrance into a college, you count them?
counting. They're considering them as continued students, so they're not just dropping them, saying they disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have LDS missions or any church missions of
Right.
that sort, they're now, that's on a report that we submit as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. So just maybe a little bit of background, I'm sure some of you are aware of it. We were very, very fortunate because the state board, I'm not sure Heath would know how, somehow Bonneville High School was selected to be an early pilot of the near peer program. So we've had this in place. This is now our 4th year, correct, Tyler? So Tyler, you started by yourself the first year, is that right? Then Alexis,
For a month and then Lexi came.
and then Lexi joined in the second. So anyway, so we really just, I think, very fortunate because we had the program in place. So when the state, because of the success of those early adopter programs, and then they implemented a statewide program, we were miles ahead, and it was just a matter of rolling the same program we had at Bonneville out to Hillcrest, and it's just been extremely effective. So Tyler's just been a great asset to the district, and Lexi, and the years they've been here, and with the other two we brought on at Hillcrest. So just really, really good work. Okay, so that's basically wrapped. To answer your question, Greg, the data we have for that is called the National Clearinghouse. So the state board started using this, I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. And there's a chance for districts to opt in, and I don't think we ever did, but I did. I think 2 years ago we started sending our data to the clearinghouse. So we do have better data now than we've had about the go-on rate. The original go-on rate, and I'm not quite sure how it's changed, but it was based on students who graduated from college 7 years after they graduated from high school. So by that definition, I am not a college graduate. So working on my doctorate degree, but I'm not a college graduate. And just to further that irony, I actually completed my coursework in 3.5 years at college. But because of admission, because I did a year-long student teaching internship, I don't meet that definition of being a college graduate. So I've always had a real problem with how they calculate that go-on rate. So anyway, but yeah, we've got data that we can track better than we have through that clearinghouse, and I'd be happy to provide the board with reports on that at any time you'd like. So getting back to the improvement plan, what isn't there is I dropped off our facilities part of the plan. I dropped off our patron engagements. Not that those aren't important, but they're not required by the state board, and I think that warrants kind of a new discussion with the board about what your goals and priorities are, rather than relying on stuff from 3 or 4 years ago. So I think, that should work its way back in our improvement plan, but I left it out for now so we can meet our October 1st deadline to the state, and we continue to discuss what else does the school board want to include as part of our comprehensive improvement plan. So with that, unless there's other questions for me, I just appreciate a motion to approve that, and once it's approved, then I'd be more than happy to send it on to the state after I've corrected my typo settlement.
Any other questions? Okay, we need a motion to approve 3 plans for the state board: continuous improvement plan, literacy plan, college and career advisement, and mentoring plan. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
It's been moved by Mr. Calder. Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Landers. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Wolstenhill.
The agenda in front of me, you want to remind me what I'm doing? Proposed policy for 30-day review.
30-day.
Excellent. Okay.
30-day review.
So we have 4 policies for 30-day review. 1260 authorization of signatures, and then 1265 related to that with electronic signatures. 5400 family medical leave and sick leave, which combines 2 old policies, the sick leave and the family medical leave policies, and those will now match up with what we have in our current master agreement, and the personal leave policy, which has also been updated to reflect what's in the master agreement. So basically, we negotiated changes with the teachers that governs, and that master contract governs our relationship or our practices with them. The policies will now bring those same changes to our classified staff.
Questions for Mr. Wolstenhill? Need a motion to approve the policies, authorization signatures, electronic signatures, family medical and sick leave, and personal leave. Do I have a motion?
30-day review.
30-day leave, what did I say?
Sorry, no, it's for 30-day review. To approve.
Oh, 30-day review.
I so move.
It's been moved by Mr. Dance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Landers. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Old business. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. So under old business, the board has 6 policies that we'd like to request a motion to approve for final adoption. These policies are the open meeting law, compliance and cure, 3265 electronic communication devices, 3600 student records, 5140 evaluation of educators and pupil personnel certificate holders, 5429 full-time classified sick leave bank, 5660 shared time teaching positions, and 5825 nepotism.
A look at 3265, it's not going to be adopted tonight.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry, not 3265. That one, we've received ISB updates and we pulled that from final adoption.
We need a motion for final adoption of open meeting law, compliance and cure, student records, evaluation of education and pupil personal certificate holders, full-time classified sick leave bank, shared time teaching positions, and nepotism.
I so move.
It has been moved by Mr. Calder. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Dance. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Pym.
Chairman Jenkins, I had hoped to have a document to put before you tonight from the LDS Church regarding our land trade agreement. I'm told I'm not going to get that till the 19th, but everything is still in motion. The board has already technically acted on it just based on the review of our attorney. So as soon as I receive that, I will put that in the hands of Doug Nelson, and once he has approved it, we will move to execute the agreement. We do have, we've contracted with HK Contractors to make the improvements out there. They've installed the sewer lines and the manhole covers. They've got the cul-de-sacs graded out, so it's a matter now of coming in and building them up and paving them and putting in the curbing. And that'll happen within the next month. So I think everything's moving forward positively. Any questions?
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to bond discussion. We will be having a work session on the 20th of September.
It's been changed to a special meeting.
To a special meeting, thank you. We will be having a special meeting on the 20th of September, at which time I think that we'll have a number of documents ready for the board's review. Is there any discussion this evening that anyone would like to make?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to suggest or maybe think about what our plan is for moving forward. Just thinking about when we have our work session, or we can have an in-depth discussion on bonds at that point. And I don't know, I'm just thinking about, do we move forward so that we can vote on a bond in December, January? When do we go to the public? Do we go to the public before the board votes, or do we go to the public after the board votes? I'm just asking some questions that maybe some of the experienced board members can maybe think about and address, just for my benefit.
Discussion. Mr. Calder, you look like you've got...
Well, I was just smiling about the experienced board member's comment. I assume that was reference to Paul.
Paul, Greg Calder, and Amy.
It has to do with the gray.
I think if you'll allow us on the 20th, we will present a lot of information that was asked for that we were going to do in this meeting. And I think as we come to a decision and vote on it, at that point, we will go out to the community.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard until we know exactly what we're going to do. So I would recommend as soon as, December would be great if you can do it by then, December's meeting.
And all I was going to say is, in our last work session, we started a process of talking about capacities and different ways of thinking about that, and trying to kind of walk through that in a very kind of methodical, careful way. I think that's helpful. I don't want to waste the other four of you's time if you feel like that's not a good use of our time, but it feels to me like continuing that process would be helpful to me.
I believe they will be prepared with a document to address that issue. And yes, I think that's of value. Thank you.
Yeah. And I don't know if we got all the way to home base on this, but part of why I think that's so helpful is understanding not just what is our next move, but what's the move after that, and that there's some kind of longer term, not that we haven't done some long-term planning in the past, we certainly have, but I think maybe at a more detailed micro level than maybe what we've done in the past, to kind of understand better what that's going to mean. And for example, specifically, what are we thinking about capacities at Rocky Mountain and Sand Creek, and how those eventually fit into what the capacities are at Hillcrest and Bonneville, and as we open a new high school and do improvements to Hillcrest and Bonneville, what is that all going to look like? And it seems to me that's all very related, and that we need to kind of have a game plan there. And I'm not suggesting we don't. I'm just saying I think that would be a good use of time to walk through that carefully.
That's actually something that I wanted to add. I feel like we have a huge list of things that we need to address. And like 1 million bonds. We need to really sit down and prioritize and look at those numbers. Like Greg said, one leads to the next, and we need to really, I think, define and prioritize where we're gonna put those things, which, you know, what we're gonna bond for first, and how we're gonna kind of roll out accomplishing everything that needs to happen.
Okay. And I think that will be addressed also on the 20th. I think that document is in the process of preparation, to answer your question.
That sounds helpful. And then I guess on the financial side, somebody will probably tell us at that next meeting what that final gross number was. That's probably been finalized and.
What was it?
8.2?
8.2 is what it was.
So, yes.
Bonding capacity is a little lower than it was at the time.
Thinking,
It's
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, okay,
We can do everything we want.
yeah, yep, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions about the, all right. Thank you. It's going to be a really fascinating meeting on the 20th. I think there'll be a lot of material presented for us. Calling for upcoming agenda items. Ms. Landers.
I would like to add an item, and I don't know whether we should add it to the upcoming special meeting next week or put it at another meeting. I'll let that be your discretion on which meeting to put it on, but I do think we need to have some discussion on our public input. So if we could add that to our agenda, that would be great.
Okay. We will add that to an agenda. Thank you, Ms. Landers. Hearing no other items of business, the board will enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74206(1)B to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or hear the complaints or charges brought against a public official, employee, staff members, individual agent, or public school student. The executive session will be closed to the public as permitted by law. I need a motion to enter executive session.
So moved.
It has been moved by Mrs. Landers and seconded by Mr. Calder. All in favor? Ms. Landers?
Yes.
Mr. Dance?
Yes.
Mr. Calder?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
And I, Paul Jenkins, am yes. Okay. We will move to executive session. Thank you.